Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Foxy98 here, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the F1 debate for you guys today here on the channel. Today we're here for, I believe this is episode number 7 now of my F1 debate series, and we're here to talk about the F1 2020 70th Anniversary Grand Prix, and also discuss my title of the video, because as you would have seen from the, well, you would have known from the title before you clicked on the video, I have titled this video, Pirelli has ruined this race. And I am going to stick by that judgment, and I will talk about it. But if you guys did enjoy today's episode, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well, if you're trying to make it towards 20,000 subscribers, hopefully by the end of the year. And I just want to point out that this F1 debate series is up for debate. That's the point of it. I'm basically making this video showcasing to you guys my personal opinion on these Formula 1 Grand Prix. I don't have to make these videos, but it's something that I enjoy doing. So if you guys disagree with my opinion, just drop your opinion in the comment section down below, but please be respectful. At the end of the day, everyone has got the right to their own opinion. No one is right or wrong. Everyone just has the freedom to say what they feel like, and I'm just happy to say it to more people than just myself. I'm basically re-recording this video again because I actually probably went on a tangent, and I think the overall video was a bit too long. So we're going to tone that down a little bit because I went on a very big rant about the tyres, but I'll try and keep it a little bit consistent. But starting things off then, obviously we saw this race weekend then that the Pirelli went with the softer tyre compounds with a higher tyre pressure, and it caused a little bit of a stir within the grid with Max Verstappen coming out as the race victor. The top 10 was Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, Leclerc, Albon, Stroll, Hulkenberg, Ocon, Norris, Kvyat, rounding off the top 10. Now, I'll quickly go over qualifying. I don't want to go over it too much, but big shout out to George Russell, getting himself into Q2 for the 4th time in a row. Really beginning to really outperform that Williams car, especially in qualifying. So it's very, very good to see. The car is still the worst on the grid in terms of just overall pace, but he's able to extract everything he can out of it on a 1-lap pace, which is really, really cool to see. Probably down to the Mercedes power unit, I think, compared to the Alphas and the Haas, who have got the Ferrari power unit, of course. I could be wrong, but, you know, it is what it is. We saw Vettel get knocked out in Q2. Once again, just has absolutely nothing with that car. And it's just not good for him. And he just really can't work with it. So, yeah, it's a big problem for him. And he needs to try and sort that out ASAP. But I don't know what he can sort out, really. Ferrari is saying that they'll support him. They'll give him a new chassis. They'll do X, Y, Z. And then Matteo Binotto says that Vettel's to blame for their strategy problems, not him. You know, like, to be honest, it's just turmoil. They just need to get away from each other and leave it at that. You know, Vettel didn't help himself by spinning, but Ferrari didn't help by pitting him onto a strategy which Vettel knew was not going to work. If you go back to Hungary, of course, Vettel was overrode what Ferrari wanted to do on strategy, and it paid off for him, and Leclerc, I don't think he scored any points. So, you know, there's your thing to put in that. But Hulkenberg had an absolutely stellar qualifying session, qualifying in 3rd place on the grid, out-qualifying Verstappen in the Red Bull, which was absolutely insane. And then obviously we had a Mercedes front row lockout, Bottas pipping Lewis Hamilton. So, in terms of the race then, we saw the Mercedes show get off the line quite well. Hamilton had a run at Bottas on the first lap, very similar to what he did last year, but he didn't quite make it pay off. We then saw that pretty much the tyre race was just about tyres. You know, Mercedes' tyres just opened up very, very quickly. Verstappen on the hard compound tyres was hovering all over the back of them, telling his engineer that he doesn't want to be driving around like a grandma and he's going to go for it, which by all means do so. Mercedes pitted about lap 12. Verstappen stayed out till lap 26. Now, a lot of people were saying that Verstappen's stint was one of the, like, absolutely mighty and, you know, God-sent and amazing. But the hard tyres this week were the medium compound tyres from last week. Now, last week, the tyres for the mediums, the strategy was to go to lap 24, pit the hards, and then go to the end. Obviously, they all pitted early because of the safety car. So, was it really a stellar stint? It was a very, very solid stint because he got 2 laps more than what the pit stop thing was saying last week, and it was obviously a hot race as well, so the tyres suffered more with that thermal degradation, and obviously, as we saw, blistering. But it wasn't a mega stint. Like, you know, 2 sets of hards could get you to the end of the race. Obviously, the mediums couldn't really get anywhere. But, obviously, Bottas and Hamilton pitted early. Verstappen ended up going quicker than them as they just had problems with the tyres all race long. Verstappen then came out, caught napping in the pit stop, obviously, and that allowed Bottas to come on through and retake the lead. Bottas then had some awful defending. Like, I don't know what he was doing against Max as soon as he came out. You know, Verstappen had the DRS, and all he had to do was keep him behind for that first lap, and then all of a sudden he could then balance out the medium versus the hard, take track position, and then if the gap was like a second, if Red Bull came out, you know, Mercedes could pit. Red Bull could have potentially gone and just done the opposite and tried to start a lap longer, but Bottas could have taken a little bit out of those hards just to stay in front and then defend, because Bottas technically is normally a good defensive driver, but he covered the inside line going in towards Luffield and Brooklands and Luffield, and then he just opened the door. He like just moved over and was like, there you go through. So then Max can take that inside line, force Bottas wide, and then take the outside line, get a better run around the outside, use the fresh mediums to just out-traction Bottas. It was clumsy defending. You know, Bottas in the race said that Mercedes was sleeping. I'm sorry, but you were sleeping. You did not do that right. You know, you should have defended that inside line, forced Verstappen to go a little bit wide, and even if he's still hanging on in there, you know, make sure that his line is tighter than yours, get that exit, and even if so, you'll be side by side going in towards Copse Corner, and with the Mercedes' straight line speed advantage, you probably would have stayed ahead, you know? So I don't think it was good defending from him at all. Hamilton then stayed out longer on his middle stint. Mercedes analysed Bottas' tyres and saw that despite the blistering, there was still some rubber left. So they left Hamilton out. Hamilton was very wary, thinking his tyre was going to blow up. But he actually was managing that gap to Verstappen nicely. Eventually then, Verstappen was closing it down, fearing that he could potentially do a one-stop. And then obviously Hamilton pitted then. He then charged back up past Leclerc and Bottas to take second place. Verstappen winning the Grand Prix, of course. Further back down the grid, we saw obviously Vettel spinning on lap 1. Very clumsy move. He did get a wheel, 2 wheels on the grass on turn 1, which could have implemented into having a little bit less grip and then spinning. But really bad move. He was then recovering through the field. Albon had a good recovery drive, but I'm going to get onto Albon in a second because I'm still not convinced with him and Red Bull. Stroll and Ocon, good race for Racing Point. I'll get onto Stroll in a minute as well. Ocon, okay job for Renault. He made a one-stop work. Norris, again, P9 for McLaren. It was a bad weekend for McLaren. They really didn't like the hot conditions with their car. So, yeah, and Ricciardo obviously finished in P14 as well. Not a good race for the Renault driver. He obviously spun as well with Carlos Sainz. But there's a couple of drivers that I want to talk about then before I make my rant about the tyres. So, we'll start things off then with Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc for me this season is actually proving to be better than he was last season. Now, last season, we don't know if the Ferrari car was illegal or not. There was a secret agreement made by the FIA, and Matteo Binotto has even come out and said that the secret agreement has cost Ferrari engine performance, which to me proves that Ferrari's car, engine-wise, was breaching the boundaries. Whether it was illegal or bordering and had to change it, who knows. But for me, I can't take credit in what Ferrari did last year with a car that no one is convinced no one has been proven to show that car is 100% legal. For me this year though, Charles Leclerc is in a car which is an absolute dog. It's a donkey. And he is going ahead and going leaps and bounds more than what that car probably should be doing. And for him to be able to get out, you know, a P3 in the Austrian Grand Prix, to get a P3 in the British Grand Prix, albeit, you know, there were some problems along the way. But the crucial thing is Charles Leclerc is the man that is in front of everybody else to capitalise on key moments like this. At the Austrian Grand Prix, he fought his way up the field. He got into a position whereby he could claim that podium when Hamilton took the penalty. You know, in the British Grand Prix, when Bottas, had that puncture and was knocked out of the podium places, he was that man that was there to get that podium, you know? So, in my opinion, Leclerc is outperforming that car to an absolute godsend. And it's absolutely incredible to see that. So, big up to Charles Leclerc. Really, really impressed with him. Moving on then to the next drivers that I wanted to talk about. Both the Racing Point drivers, Lance Stroll and Hulkenberg. Stroll's got a lot of questions to ask. So, if you're a Stroll fan, you can virtually punch me in the face. I recommend it because it'll break your screen and it'll teach you for getting angry. Stroll's got a lot of questions to ask. Perez now has missed 2 races, okay? The gap in the championship between Stroll and Perez is 6 points. But Perez has missed 2 races. There's a problem here. Stroll is effectively, for these 2 races, has been team leader. Because Hulkenberg could come in, he's got all the experience in the world. but he's not a team leader because he's just jumped in the car. It's a brand new car, and he's got to get with it and just get on with the races. Yet, in the British Grand Prix, we didn't really get to see anything from Hulkenberg. He didn't have a good qualifying session. He admitted that. He said that his qualifying was bad. In the race, we never got to see what he could do because the car wouldn't fire up. Heading into this weekend, then, he outqualifies Lance Stroll, gets P3. He outraces Lance Stroll all race long until we heard that there was severe vibrations on the rear tyres, which they feared Hulkenberg's not going to get to the end of the race, so they pitted him for a set of soft tyres. Was this about, ordering Hulkenberg to pit stop, etc.? No, it's just not. I'm sorry. What does Daddy Stroll want? That Stroll finishes in front of Hulkenberg? But at the end of the day, Racing Point's main aspirations is to get points. That's what they should be looking at. Albon overtook Lance Stroll near the end. If Hulkenberg had the tyres to hang on, he would have stayed in front of Stroll. The gap was only 3 seconds. I think he would have been on the back of Hulkenberg, but I don't think he would have passed him in time. But yeah, Hulkenberg came into the pits. But at the end of the day, Stroll has gone through all the preseason testing with that Racing Point. Granted, that was a good while ago beforehand, but he still raced in all the preseason testing. He's done 5 rounds of Formula 1, including, the race, practice, qualifying. Hulkenberg has done 6 practice sessions, 2 qualifying sessions, and 1 Grand Prix race. And in his first actual full weekend of Formula 1, he was better than Stroll in every aspect. Now, I know that Stroll has not had the experience that Hulkenberg has had. Hulkenberg been in the sport since 2010. But this is Stroll's 4th season in Formula 1. You can't use the inexperienced or rookie format for him anymore. To be honest, if you're in your 4th season of Formula 1, you're kind of an experienced Formula 1 driver. Because if you're a bad Formula 1 driver, you kind of just get dropped. You look at Kvyat, he got dropped. And you look at Ocon, he was inexperienced and he got dropped. I don't think he should have been dropped, but he was dropped, And Stroll has been fortunate enough that he hasn't been dropped. But you've got to ask questions as to, is there any point in Stroll being in that Racing Point? For me, it's a genuine no. I don't think he doesn't deserve to be out of Formula 1. I think he deserves to be in the Alfa Romeo or the Haas or something like that. But, the Racing Point is going up and up and up and up, but Stroll isn't progressing as fast as what the car is doing. And I just feel like Lance, to me, is not a good enough driver to be in that Racing Point. If it was me, I'd be using Perez and Vettel in that car next year. But it is what it is. But for Hulkenberg to come into a brand new team, a car that he drove for Force India back in 2016 was the last time, but that's 2016, it's a long time ago. I think when did he leave to go to Renault? Was he in the Force India in 2017? I think he was, actually. So let's say 2018 then. 18 and 19, he was in the Renault. And I can't remember what he was in there. No, he was in the... To be honest, I can't remember, right? I'm having an absolute brain fart right now, so I'm just going to shut up. But yeah, to be in that car and to do that, it's very, very impressive. So, Stroll, questions to be asked. And obviously, Ocon, decent job. He did the one-stop strategy, same as Leclerc, and got himself some points. Vettel, poor race, blamed the team for the strategy error. The team blamed him for his spin and said the strategy would have made no difference. They hate each other. The blood's boiled over. The relationship's over. It's a harsh divorce at the end of the day, unfortunately. And it kind of sucks to see it. Yeah, it's not the greatest thing in the world to really see them have that kind of send off. But hopefully Vettel can get rejuvenated if he gets signed for Aston Martin. Obviously, we saw when he was struggling at Red Bull in the last season in 2014. He was outperformed by Ricciardo. He didn't win any races. He was just very, very poor. He went to Ferrari, a brand new team. He was rejuvenated. He was motivated. He worked so well alongside Maurizio Arrivabene that I'm going to put this out here, right? You could take me differently, right? But I actually think that Ferrari under Maurizio Arrivabene was better than Ferrari under Matteo Binotto. Because, under Maurizio, in 2015, Ferrari had a massive resurgence from their 2014 car and were up at the front. 2016 was quite dodgy. They started off very strong, and then they got overtaken by Red Bull in the development race. In 2017, then, they took the fight to Mercedes-Benz and challenged them for the title. In 2018, then, they took the fight to Mercedes-Benz and challenged them even harder for the title, where they should have won it, really. And then in 2019, Matteo comes in. They didn't really challenge for the title. They had basically an illegal car. And then in 2020, they built a dog of a machine. I'm just putting it out there. I genuinely think that the reason, the heavy hit for Vettel not performing as well in Ferrari is because Matteo Binotto is not a good team boss as Maurizio Arrivabene. I genuinely believe that, in my opinion. And I feel like Vettel and Maurizio were, the key. The last driver I want to talk about, actually, before I move on, is Valtteri Bottas and his apparent being overrated in the Mercedes car. Bottas, obviously, in terms of race victories, I think Verstappen and Bottas has the same amount of victories since when they moved to their teams. Mercedes in 2017 and Red Bull in 2016 for Verstappen. And Mercedes definitely has had the better car. But at the end of the day, for me, did people complain about Rubens Barrichello when he was in the Ferrari? Because Schumacher was the dominant driver, Barrichello was the number 2. Not really, no. Did people complain when Giancarlo Fisichella was in the Renault and he was alongside Fernando Alonso? No. He won some races. Not loads compared to Fernando, but he won a few. Did people complain when Mark Webber was in the Red Bull? He was technically the number 2 driver. I wouldn't say he was in 2010, but 2011, 12, and 13, yes. Do people complain, though, and tweet about that and say that he doesn't deserve to be in that seat? No, I didn't see any of those. So, and then we go to Kimi Raikkonen. During the time at Ferrari, between 2015, when he was teammates with Seb, to 2018, did people say that Raikkonen needs to get out of that car immediately? No. I didn't see anyone say, get Raikkonen out of there, he's useless. So, just because Mercedes has got a car that that wins world championships, Bottas is playing his part. He's getting those podiums. He's getting up the order every single race long. If Hamilton's not having a good day, Bottas is there to take control of that and take the race victories. We look at, let's say Russia, his first race win in 2017. Hamilton was way off the pace. Bottas wasn't. He won the Grand Prix. The Austrian Grand Prix this year, Bottas's race win. Hamilton had a very scruffy weekend. Who was there to take the race victory? Bottas took the race victory. And there were some races where Bottas has genuinely just outright been better than Lewis. We go to USA 2019. Hamilton started on 5th, not a good qualifying. Bottas was on pole, won the Grand Prix, beat Lewis Hamilton. The Japanese Grand Prix, Ferrari front row lockout. Bottas got the better start. Boom, up into the lead of the Grand Prix. See you later, I'll go win this then, because Lewis is struggling to get past the Ferrari. He couldn't get past Seb in the end. Bottas, I'll take this one. I'll help Mercedes out here. I'll get that race win. Granted, okay? Verstappen is a better driver than Bottas. Leclerc is a better driver than Bottas. Vettel probably is still a better driver than Bottas. There are drivers out there that are better than Valtteri Bottas. But when it comes to an overall team, you don't fix what isn't broken. With Hamilton and Bottas being teammates, they have still won every Constructors' Championship that the two of them have been teammates for. They get along really well. They respect each other. There's no heat. There's no turmoil like there was in the Hamilton-Rosberg era. Don't fix what isn't broken. Yes, there are drivers out there that are better than Valtteri Bottas, 100%. In terms of Bottas being at Mercedes to challenge for World Championships, yes, he's got a car that can win the Drivers' World Championship. Will he win the Drivers' World Championship? Probably not, no, because he's going up against someone like Lewis Hamilton, who's a better driver than him. Verstappen is a better driver than him. But at the end of the day, when the team is working so well in harmony, don't change it. So I wanted to quickly brief that one up. Obviously, he got a new contract for 2021. It's deserved, in my opinion. I think he's a great driver, and he's exactly what Mercedes need. You've got your top-tier driver, Lewis Hamilton, who's going to go out there and win the championships. Bottas, if he wants to go out there and win the championships, he's going to have to somehow try and beat Hamilton, which I don't think he can. But when Hamilton is not having a good day at the office, Bottas is right up there to give the fight to them. And another example is China 2018. Hamilton was absolutely dreadful that race weekend, just didn't have any performance or any pace. And, Bottas should have won the Grand Prix, but the safety car came out. Canada 2018, Vettel won the race, but Hamilton was very, very poor. Apparently some engine problems. But Bottas was in P2. He chased Vettel down, made a little mistake, boom, gone, It is what it is. So, yeah, I just wanted to put that one out there. But now we're going to brief onto why I've titled this video, Pirelli has ruined F1, or this race in particular. Now, I'm going to go ahead and not rant about this too much, because I ranted about it for about 45 minutes earlier, probably. Basically, my argument is a lot of people have said that this race was amazing because of the soft tyres, it made things interesting, but at the end of the day, this Formula 1 Grand Prix was decided on the tyres and the tyres alone. To me, that's not fun. For me, a Formula 1 race should be decided on wheel-to-wheel combat, wheel-to-wheel racing. We saw Lewis Hamilton you know, battle hard against Verstappen at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Eventually, then he made a tyre stop and then overtook him. For me, that's the type of tyre strategy race that I'm fine with. You know, Lewis and Verstappen were battling really, really hard. Hamilton then decided to make a quick pit stop onto the medium compound tyres and then chase down Verstappen and overtake him for the race victory. That's the type of tyre strategy where I'm like, that's cool. That race was decided on strategy. The one stop was, you know, got him to the end. It got Verstappen to the end. I mean, he pitted at the end for soft tyres for fastest lap, but the one stop easily could have got Verstappen to the end of the Grand Prix, but he decided to go for fastest lap at the end. It was fine. And they were able to push each other really, really hard. But then Hamilton decided, let's do another stop, catch and pass him, because we'll have fresher tyres. That's cool. But I've got up Martin Brundle's column here on the tyre tensions at the 70th anniversary Grand Prix. And he actually basically put this perfectly in like 2 lines than I did in about 20 minutes. So here it is. He says, every time, I mean, you can't see it on your screens right now, but, you know, here's what he said. So he says, every time I leave a Grand Prix venue at the moment, I mentally tick the box of another race somehow safely delivered, and the 70th anniversary race at Silverstone was number 5 in what looks to hopefully be a 15 to 16 races, largely in Europe and the Middle East, if we keep it all rolling. I'm personally conflicted about the latest race on Sunday. It was good to see the jeopardy and uncertainty created by the softer Pirelli compounds around the brutally long and high-speed turns of Silverstone. So that I kind of agree with. You know, we had a tyre compound which was softer around the circuit, and we were saying, you know, all race long, was Verstappen going to one-stop? He didn't one-stop. Was Hamilton then going to switch to a one-stop and try and help make that one-stop work? You know, there was a lot of things to go wrong around with the tyres. But, as Martin puts it perfectly, but at the same time, the tyres opening up and blistering within a handful of laps and less than 40 miles and being absolutely being the deciding factor of the race is less satisfying, to say at the least. He puts that absolutely perfect. You know, it wasn't, you know, a wheel-to-wheel race. It wasn't a rainy day or anything like this. But for me, it was just not cool. It was bad. It wasn't fun. I mean, as Martin has put here, you know, Mercedes clearly had a more aggressive suspension geometry and more downforce than the Red Bull. And that's obviously why the tyres were splitting up more than the Red Bull. But for me, you know, I just don't see what's the fun in a Grand Prix race where, as Martin says, that the tyres open up less than 40 miles into a stint. And I'm going to go on to the soft tyres, and I don't want to rant about this too long, but, you know, the soft compound tyres, for the first time since Pirelli introduced with a solo tyre manufacturer back in 2011, it was the first time that not one driver on the grid started the race on the soft compound tyre. And for me, the soft tyre wasn't even used preliminary in Q3 because it couldn't even do a full lap properly without you having to manage at some little points. What I don't see the point, you know, the soft tyre, if we're going to have a qualifying tyre, that's cool, right? You do one lap on your soft tyres, and then, you know, I mean, one proper fast lap on those soft tyres, and then we're done with, okay? But the fact is why does the soft tyre not even be able to do one lap is, first of all, biblical and just plain stupid. And then it can only do like 2 laps on race gym, it's useless. The only driver that used the soft tyre in the entire race was Hulkenberg when he had to make that late pit stop. You know, what I want to see is a race whereby the wheel-to-wheel racing and potentially the tyre strategy are both factors. Go back to Silverstone 2019, okay? That was, for me, the perfect example of a proper Formula 1 Grand Prix event. You had the wheel-to-wheel racing. You had Hamilton versus Bottas going at it wheel-to-wheel. You had Verstappen versus Leclerc versus Gasly versus Vettel going at it wheel-to-wheel racing. What we then also saw is when the safety car came out, we saw tyre strategies come into play. Some people then went on to the 2 stoppers, but the likes of Lewis Hamilton said, sod this, I'll do 1 stop instead. I'll mix up my strategy because the tyres feel good. I'll go further. Boom, wins on a 1-stop strategy, and there was so much wheel-to-wheel action in there. But in this race, it was just the only entertainment that I got from this Grand Prix was, oh yeah, but, you know, is he going to get to the end on 1 set of tyres? Well, no, he's not going to get to the end on 1 tyres because they open up at less than 40 laps into a stint. I actually just want to put this question out there. I could be completely wrong, but if Mercedes-Benz got the 1-2 today, okay, and Verstappen, tyre strategy, it didn't really make a difference for him in the race, would you genuinely be wanting to have more 2-stop races? I'm just going to put that out there, okay? Because I genuinely believe that the only reason that people are happy that the two stops, that these tyre compounds were softer and that we saw two-stop races was because Verstappen beat Mercedes and Mercedes didn't win a Grand Prix. Because everyone is bored of Mercedes winning because they're probably, for me, arguably the greatest team ever in Formula 1 with the way that they work and perform. That's just how I feel about it. I could be completely wrong. Like I said, you can put your comments in the comment section down below. But I want to put that out there. For me, the softer compound tyres attempt by Pirelli, it didn't work. It was a stupid idea. It was boring. You know, I don't like that just tyres made an impact. To be honest, like I said, I want to see drivers out there racing their absolute hearts out and having some proper wheel-to-wheel racing, like Hamilton and Verstappen, for example, at even the Brazilian Grand Prix last year, the Hungarian Grand Prix. They were going at it, and then they decided to then use the tyre strategy to make that, you know, make it work. You know, the safety car came out in Brazil, Verstappen pitted, Mercedes were like, right, we're just going to take track position, do a different strategy. Right, safety car comes out again, we've lost track position, let's get on the soft tyres and go after him. You know, that's what I call wheel-to-wheel racing, then your strategy. This is how it should be. Tier number 1, wheel-to-wheel racing. Then as soon as the wheel-to-wheel racing is absolutely fulfilled and you're still not quite there and can beat them, then get strategy into play. Mix that up. Shout out to your horn, mate. So yeah, that's where it should be in there. And it wasn't. It was just tyres. You couldn't literally race hard in this race because you'd just kill your tyres. So I didn't really like that at all, in my opinion. But there we go, guys. That's going to be it for the F1 debate for today. Let me know what you thought in the comments section down below. And if you enjoyed the video, drop it a like, subscribe if you're new around here as well. And I'll see you guys for the next F1 debate next week, where we'll be talking about the Spanish Grand Prix, where hopefully I don't have to complain about the tyres. But yeah, until then, take care all. Peace.